With Pilot, there isn't that cycle of wondering whether things are going wrong and eventually have to handle it. I just know and I can trust them. The thing that led us to Pilot was we had 3 accountants in 6 years, which we obviously wouldn't want. If things were going well, it felt like we were just wandering from mistake to mistake. And the whole time wondering, surely someone must know how an agency should be run from a back office, like the invoicing, the accounting, the bookkeeping. But we kept having these different providers, a bookkeeper here, an accountant there, and their support together did not accrue into guidance that we needed. So things would fall through the cracks, like who reconciles invoices that come in. I have no idea that someone needs to do that, but someone needs to do that. And the 2 people who are supposed to do that don't agree on who should do that. And it led us to this place where we had this gigantic tax bill because the accounting firm that we were using could have told us that we should have been an S corp, but we didn't know to pay them to run a study to have us change that. And so we pay this huge tax bill. We're in these never ending cash flow cycles where on paper in this spreadsheet that I have built, it looks like we have a ton of cash and we are owed so much and none of it is in the bank at the time that we need it for payroll. And so sometimes we're taking out a loan to cover things. I knew we were selling enough, and that was really frustrating to know that there was theoretically enough, but that the system of invoicing collections wasn't getting that to us fast enough, and that nobody on the team had that expertise. And then finally, we have refused to track hours because we don't want to degrade the creative experience at Fenwick. We want people to feel free to do the thing that is going to be best for the client. And that left us in this world where we blind to what hours people were putting into different parts of the projects and whether that is what clients were paying us for and if they were paying us enough for it. And so the accumulation of all of those problems led us to feeling we couldn't keep doing it. We started looking for an accounting firm that would do everything so that we'd have one person or one point of contact who knew the whole thing and could see when something fell through, because we're not at a size we're going to hire full time for that. So we interview 4 different accounting firms. And what I'll separate these out because the traditional accounting firms are using software, but they're not a software company. So their habits are very traditional, and they're like the firms that we used before, where we would run these email threads that are like 100 emails long. And I just don't want that much communication. I want them to be economizing my time the way that I economize it and helping us put together a system where we are invoicing customers, we are getting paid, and it requires progressively less of our time and is mostly just running itself. And Pilot was the obvious front runner because they're both a tech company and they have people. And so it's that mixture of the professional services and actually understanding what most people are trying to do with software, which is try not to be in that software, that did it for us. So talking with Pilot on our initial sales calls, they just asked way better questions. Their questions were aligned with how I think about things, which other accountants were curious how many times I would want to meet. And I don't want to. I want it to not be a problem that we have to deal with. And I want it to be on autopilot, and Pilot completely understood that. And then in that sales process, identified that what we needed was way more than just bookkeeping. It was CFO services, which I knew that we needed something called advisory or something around that. And they let me talk to a CFO and figure out that this team has all the templates that we need to run an agency. They have the models pre-built that they can customize to us, and they know what good looks like. That's the thing that I was always struggling with accounting firms before, is they would say yes to stuff, but they would ask me how I would want it done. And I would say, I don't know. How should it be done? You guys are the experts. I want someone to tell me. And I felt like we got that with Pilot. Kicking off, they cleaned up our books to make sure that we could do our taxes. And so there's a compliance aspect to it where their controller and the account person, the bookkeeper, are asking us lots of questions, which I feel good about answering because I know that they're putting it into their software platform where these get turned into rules and transactions get auto-categorized. They're integrated with all of our banks and payment systems such that I know that the investment on my part as the owner of the studio will be less and less and less over the time. And that they share that goal, that they also want this to be really, really easy. On the other side of it, there's the CFO part of it. So we get introduced to Alicia, our CFO, and it's just not a relationship that I've had before with a service provider. And I think this is probably our problem, is the prior service providers were very deferential. They would do what I'd say. I have a degree in history. I don't know what I'm doing. We're making it up as we're going. We're trying to build a studio. We're creatives. So I don't know what a good back office is supposed to look like. And having Alicia and the CFO team to actually advise from a place of genuine experience about what hundreds of other agencies have done and what worked and didn't work was a profound transformation. And so Alicia gets in, she pushes back on me in some ways that proved really, really useful. For example, in the spreadsheet that I had built for us, it said when clients were supposed to pay us and when an invoice would come in, which is a totally deceptive view because clients are usually somewhat late. And so Alicia builds this new spreadsheet that runs calculations like how late is a client typically on average so that I can see the invoice arriving not when it's supposed to, but in fact 3 weeks later, which completely changed all of our forecasting. And so now we are budgeting. We know how much our work is turning into revenue, what people are contributing what to that overall revenue, what services are profitable, which ones are not. And I feel set up. I feel like the house is in order and I don't have to worry about things. In the past, I also tried not to worry about things and I would over delegate to the other financial contractors. And then the silent problem would surface and then it's a crisis. With Pilot, there isn't that cycle of wondering whether things are going wrong and eventually have to handle it. I just know and I can trust them in a way that I think I've just never experienced before. So it's the end of the mystery catch crunch cycles. I know that our taxes are going to be a lot lower this year because we've actually done the rationalization on what kind of entity type we should be and how we're filing. And it's the end to wondering, should we be tracking hours? What are work points worth? We just have a dashboard and it says, this is what you guys are putting in. This is what you're getting out. This is where you should charge more. This is what cash is going to look like 13 weeks out. This is the moment when you should start finding more clients. This is the moment when you should cap it because you guys are full up, and it's everything together in a spreadsheet and it's miraculous.